So welcome everyone to another MontrealDAO event. And this month's project spotlight is, of course, on Radix. So we're going to be deep diving on the Radix platform today. We got three folks from the ecosystem here to discuss the project and the ecosystem. We got, of course, our own Tony, or Mr. Afterwave here. He's a Radvocate for Radix. We got Mr. Bonafied, and he's representing, is it the Radish community or the Radish NFT project?
Radish is a project within the Radix community, indeed.
Yeah, okay, cool. And Jeremy, who's the CMO at Radix. So we got, the whole spectrum covered for everyone to learn about Radix today. We can, deep dive into the technology or figure out what are some of the NFT plays there, or even ask questions around maybe some of the money-making or DeFi opportunities on the Radix platform, because I think on the L1, because I think that's really one of the big plays on that L1. So let's just quickly go into the agenda for the evening. But before we get there, got to kick off with a bit of humor. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Can't forget, it's Cinco de Mayo. So brace yourselves after this call. I hope you guys are ready. Pound back some margaritas. The funny thing is, obviously in Canada, we don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo as hard as the Americans do, right? So, we don't have the Mexican food that the Americans, or obviously the Mexicans do. But, we do our best. We'll still get drunk for a random reason. And that brings me to the next slide. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not above using obscure Mexican battles to justify my drinking. That's what it's about. So happy Cinco de Mayo, guys. So hopefully you'll get a chance to get out tonight or celebrate a bit. All right, so let's get into the first. I'll introduce myself if you don't know who I am. So my name's Houston Trong, full-time crypto trader. I've been trading full-time for the past 7 years, trading full-time crypto for the past year. Before that, I cut my teeth in, trading equities, stocks, futures, options, the traditional TradFi space. And then, of course, came to crypto for the number go up technology, and then stuck around for the love of the vibe and everything else around it. So now I'm fully into crypto and hope to be contributing more and more into this space, because I think, this is where all the bright minds have landed and are going. And I think, even though we're in a pretty deep bear market right now, the fact is, there's no loss of enthusiasm. This is a lot different than 2018, 2019, when things just got dead, right? And people just left. And yes, certainly there's, fewer retail folks that are, in our communities nowadays because of the numbers not going up as fast as it used to. But certainly a lot more folks that are sticking around this time around than in the previous cycle, which, I'm the cohort of. So I'm the founder of the Montreal Traders Meetup Group. So that's a long-standing trading community here in Montreal. We've taken a pause on that, and I've, of course, shifted that focus to now build out the MontrealDAO. We are now 199 members in the MontrealDAO community. Just one away from 200, just one. So whoever the next person is, maybe we need to give them a POAP or some sort of NFT or something to commemorate that number. But we're getting real close to 200, and it just started at the beginning of the year. So the fact is that it's growing really fast, all organically. We're not even pushing anything big in terms of social. We don't even have a Twitter account yet. So I think ultimately, if you're listening out there and you like to if you like social stuff, we're looking for more contributors to join the MontrealDAO. If you're good at, if you have a good Twitter game, let us know. We need to have some more presence on Twitter to let folks know, because that's where, of course, all the alpha gets leaked and all the good stuff's on Twitter. But you can find me. Actually, that's my old trade. That's my old. That is actually my old. That's funny. That's my old Twitter account. I recently changed it. You can find me. I'll drop it in the chat here. So you can now find me at HoustonXMTL. So that's my new Twitter. You can find me there. That's where you can reach me if you want to hit me up on Twitter. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the community, and then I'll get into some housekeeping stuff, and then we'll pass it to the Radix team. So what is the MontrealDAO? What's our mission? What's our purpose? What are we here for? So the mission of the MontrealDAO really is to build, a local thriving group of Web3 users, builders, and investors through education and networking. And ultimately, we believe that one of the core tenets of community is having this shared ethos or shared values, not just in terms of the outcomes, but of course, that the most compelling thing is the ethos, the values that we stick around for, and the willingness, which I think is important, to exchange and learn from one another. So, some of those values, I think, if you've been around crypto for a while, then that the ethos is built around a few core tenets. Number one, self-sovereignty, right? Number two, be inclusion. So that's inclusion, inclusivity around race, gender, whatever it may be, right? Anyone can participate. I mean, just permissionless. Number three, decentralization, right? Moving away from the forces of centralization and letting people take control and not being not being, I guess, preyed on by central authorities. And number four is just freedom. So freedom to transact and do freely. And of course, the final part is to socialize a network. So that's ultimately, I think, what we're really here for is you got to balance that educational factor with the enjoyment of being around people, especially now that we're kind of getting away from the COVID lockdowns. We can get back in person next week and actually get a chance to meet a lot of folks in person. So speaking of next week's in-person social. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we're sold out, right? So we only had 20 on the list, and it's now at 22. So we got a couple on the wait list. And again, we haven't even marketed this event, right? Like all we've done is just post it on the page. So we really haven't done much to actually promote it. So people are just finding it organically. So it just tells me there's a ingrown, I think is a growing thirst for people to get back out there, to meet others, to learn more, and to engage around this topic. So I think there's no finer time to be part of this community, to be contributing, and then obviously to get this community larger and larger, and finding more and more people that we can educate and network with. Because frankly, I've been surprised as I've been getting deeper into the Montreal Web3/crypto scene. There's a lot of folks in Web3 who working Web3 here in Montreal. There's a lot of folks, so it's really great to see the community, and it's always surprising to find another builder, another crypto investor, another Web3 user or crypto trader in Montreal. So fantastic that we're seeing this community build out, because 4 years ago when I started talking about crypto in 2017, or actually 5 years ago now, it was like a very, very small group, and they all left after the bear market. So I remember in 2017 when we did a Christmas party for my last meetup group, and we had about 40 people in the room, and I said, "Who trades crypto here?" And everyone had their hands up. Everyone was like, "Yeah, I trade crypto." I asked the same question in January of 2018, and then it's like two hands. And then I asked the same question in February. It's like 0 hands. No one wanted to even be associated with crypto anymore. Like, I don't even want to be part of that anymore. So it's great to see everyone still around, hanging out, even in this tough bear market. All right, so let's talk about the agenda now, and then before we jump to the agenda, I do want to make one housekeeping announcement, and that's around the in-person social next week. So it's great that we have a full list here. So we have some overflow. There's a waiting list, but if you're on that, if you have RSVP'd and you cannot make it, then kindly cancel your RSVP so someone else who's waiting can attend. All right. So if you think you can't make it, then just do everyone else a favor. Show some courtesy and cancel your RSVP, and that way other folks who are on in line can actually make it and enjoy the night. So thanks for that. Okay, so here's the agenda for the evening. So as I mentioned already, I'm doing the welcome and housekeeping now. I'm going to give a quick crypto market rundown. Nothing too major tonight. Not too much to spotlight, and then we'll pass it over to the Radix team, and then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A if we haven't had all our questions answered by then. But I think this will be a pretty open, interactive session, so it shouldn't really. I don't think we need to have a formal Q&A wrap-up session, but we'll see what happens. We always have some good conversation at the end anyway, so we'll see what happens there. All right, so what we are doing tonight, though, is that for the folks who are on this call, we're doing a OATs drop. So who here knows what an OAT is? OAT. Of course, classic, because you know what. You've been helping me. Anyone know what an OAT is? Does anyone know what a POAP is? POAP?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So POAP is a proof of attendance protocol. We've been doing a few of those now since at each one of our events. An OAT is kind of a competitor to POAP. So it's being done by this project called Project Galaxy, and they helped us launch this OAT. So a lot of projects now are using OATs. That's basically an acronym for an on-chain achievement token. So unlike a POAP, which basically just is sits on another chain, this is actually a token. So this token can sit on any one of the supported chains that they now support. So tonight we're going to be dropping our OAT on Polygon. So what we're going to do tonight is at the end of the call, we're going to drop a link into our Discord channel. You can go to that form, and that that link we're going to post is going to be a form. Drop your address in there, and then you'll be whitelisted to claim this beautiful token. Look at that beautiful token. Look at the hours I spent building that thing. Yeah, beautiful token. So again, If you don't want to dox yourself, that's fine. Create a new wallet now, right? So create a new wallet. So if you don't want to, have this stuff connected to your IRL life or your IRL profile, then spend the time now to create a new MetaMask wallet. We're going to drop the form or inside Discord at near the end of the call, right? So after the Radix guys have done their presentations, then we'll drop the form into Discord. If you haven't been to our Discord, there's the link. If you don't mind, Classicus, actually I can do it. I'm right here. So I'm going to drop the Discord into the chat pod in case you're not there already. There it is. There's our Discord channel, and you can join to get the form. And if you don't know how to set up MetaMask, those folks who don't know how to set up MetaMask, or maybe you're not on Matic yet. So Matic is obviously Polygon, or maybe not obviously. So Polygon Matic, it's it's basically the same thing. There's the instructions on how to set up MetaMask with Matic. So the RPC stuff is all inside that link. Okay. And at the end, we'll do the drop. We'll do the drop of the form. We'll get your wallet addresses. And then tomorrow, I'll send you a link to this page, or you can come to this page yourself afterwards, and you can claim the actual token. All right. And here's the fun thing with this token, because we're still very, very early in the, with our DAO and all of our events, this token will confer a bit of benefit. So, we're trying to make things fun here. So, these are not just badges, but we're trying to give a certain amount of privileges to some of these badges, right? So you come in early, claim these tokens, and ultimately get some more membership benefits as we build up this DAO. The folks who are OGs will be recognized as such. All right. So next thing now is a quick shout out. So this morning, was it last night? I want to shout out Marcus. I don't know if he doesn't know I want to do this, but he posted some of this project that he's doing in the Discord yesterday.
Sweet stuff.
Yeah, and kudos to you, man. So I just want to shout out Marcus. He's part of the community. So it's a community project. He built it himself, but he built out the whole NFT project, and it looks great. So if you haven't checked it out, you're not on Discord, then there's the links. But I'm sure he'll be happy to explain how he did it and the methods he used to create this kind of metaverse that he's using as the art gallery. But really nice work. So well done, Marcus, and thanks for sharing with us. Really cool project. So just kudos for that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then I think that is all I want to talk about in terms of the community stuff. So let's get into the agenda now. So let's now get into a quick crypto overview, DeFi overview, and then we'll pass it over to the Radix team. So here's a quick breakdown of the current market environment. Pretty hard to find any green stuff in there, right? It's pretty red. So, we're definitely in a bear market. Luckily, we've been calling it here since, the beginning of January that we're in a bear market. So hopefully, it's this thing you've managed to go to cash, or at least not take too many foolish trades or investments. But it's definitely very hard to find green stuff in this heat map. So regardless, I think where you think it's going to go, it's been a tough year so far, a tough slog. But I think what's emerged out of this is probably one of the most interesting things that I've seen. One of the most compelling things in crypto that I've seen is, of course, the rise of stablecoins, right? So this is not stopping now. I think stablecoins have found that product market fit, and people are really seeing that, there's a real ecosystem being developed around stablecoins that are not just centralized, but these, decentralized stablecoins are really taking off. Of course, there's a bunch of copycats now. Obviously, UST kind of broke the mold. And this past month, I think May the 1st, so 4 days ago, they actually overtook BUSD as the third leading stablecoin. So yeah, they have certainly, come a long way from kind of fringe project to now being basically the big dog in decentralized stablecoins. So that project continues to do well, although, Do Kwon and Terra still has a lot of haters. So it remains to be seen. We talked about Terra lots on this on these events. It remains to be seen, whether the tokenomics / Ponzinomics can continue and support that that ecosystem. Interestingly enough, they bought another $1.5 billion of Bitcoin today. So now their treasury is at, I think, 3.5 billion of Bitcoin now inside that treasury for UST. So it's becoming quite the interesting play there. Of course, if you take a look really carefully, you'll see a few green things. I think TRX was up this week. So Tron, that's Justin Sun's project. And of course, he's copycatting basically Luna, but offering even more yield. so his project popped this week because everyone wants to front run that and get into TRX. Okay, so I pretty much all read. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about DeFi very quickly. So DeFi kind of hanging in there. Surprisingly, it's still around above the 202 billion TVL across all chains mark. So staying in there. Surprisingly, because TVL obviously is counted by the total value locked on chain, but obviously that TVL number is reflected in the price of the tokens. So even though the token prices are going down, the TVL is kind of hanging steady. So that's kind of interesting. So that means the money's not going anywhere, and people are actually moving more stuff onto on chain. So and locking it up. So maybe a lot of that could be the rise of Lido, and that folks are actually staking their ETH before the merge or the upgrade. This is kind of a small screenshot, so I apologize, but I was trying to get a lot of chains, as many chains as I could on this small slide. But this is the top 19 chains. So not a lot of movement around here. I guess the top 5 are still the top 5. ETH, Terra, BNB, AVAX, Solana, still the top 5. Look at Tron, though, right? We just talked about Tron, now number 6 because they popped up in the last 12 days. They're up 12% on Justin Sun's stablecoin. And what else has been popping is Optimism. Of course, they did their token drop. Was it last week? Was it already 1 week already? Man, time goes fast, right? So yeah, Optimism popped and dropped their token last week, and that gave them a bit of a pop as well. But of course, that's kind of pulling back a bit now. But overall, these are the names you need to watch. Continue to watch. I always like to watch the top 20 and see the movement around there and see which chains are kind of in play and which ones are are bringing the most amount of projects. I like watching obviously the number of protocols that are actually on those chains, and then obviously the TVL number is fun to watch as well. Okay, there's Polygon right there, which we'll be using tonight to mint our oats. All right, just a few more slides and we'll pass it over. Here is this is all from Token Terminal, by the way, these green slides. So this is TVL by project. So what are the biggest projects right now by TVL? Curve continues to be the granddaddy, although Lido now is right behind it. That's new, right? So Lido has really popped up here over the past month because people are really staking their ETH. They're trying to find, it makes sense, right? We're in a deep bear market. People don't want to sell their ETH. So what are you going to do with it? Probably going to stake it, right? You want to earn some yield. Rather going to stake it in Lido, or you're probably going to use some of these DeFi options protocols to try to earn some yield off of that. So it makes sense that people are doing that. And this is different than what we've ever seen in previous bear markets. We didn't have any of this stuff in 2018, right? People just, you just kind of sat in it and just ate the 80% drawdown, right? Which is really painful. At least here you kind of offset some of those losses by at least hanging out in Lido and earning a bit of yield. It's interesting there. MontrealDAO hanging strong. Everything else here is pretty much constant. All these names here are, all quote unquote blue chip. Even Abracadabra still hanging in there. Liquidity, yeah, popping up as well. Liquidity's a lending platform. Okay, a couple more slides. Actually, last slide here, and we'll pass it over to Radix. So last slide is top projects by protocol. So interestingly, look at what ETH did this past 7 days, right? So ETH's always the leader, but this week they're really the leader. And what happened? They had that big Yuga Labs thing pop off this past week, right? I think it was a Sunday that they did the auction sale for land. So for the folks who are not deep into the weeds with Ethereum and Yuga Labs dropped a land sale for their metaverse project, and I think I don't know how much money they collected, but about 200 million was burnt just ETH fees. so they definitely burnt a lot of the money that they're trying to actually make just for ETH fees, and those ETH fees ultimately accrue back to the protocol and back to the token holders. So it's one of those funny things where oftentimes, when you're investing in these different protocols, oftentimes the easiest play is just to invest into the chain itself, the L1, right? The DeFi plays and the protocols themselves have a hard time out competing, the base layer chain, the L1. So in this case here, it's very difficult to find any DeFi project on Ethereum that's outperforming Ethereum because Ethereum just continues to rack in, to rack up that money. So, and obviously that EIP, what is it, 1556? Is that the EIP? It just continues to, to burn fees and is that a 8? Or 9? I can't remember what it was. But it continues to, accrue fees back to token holders. So everything else looks about the same. And look at Tornado Cash. Obviously finding some good product market fit. People like to wash their coins before they get it off or before they move it around their wallets. So if you're new to this stuff, definitely take some time. Make sure you understand each one of these protocols or each one of these projects, because they're all names that are now becoming kind of just kind of mainstay projects that are part of the ecosystem. All right, so that takes us right to 624, 625. So what I'll do now is I'll pass the mic over to, I think, Tony. You wanna kick things off for the Radix team and go through what?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all right,
Pass it,
Jeremy. I'll
Tony.
do a quick introduction and maybe just throw a couple of quick slides. If I could do this. Yeah, can you guys see that one?
Yep.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So first off, quick thanks, Houston, for setting it up. So Tony B, that's me, Afterwave. Depending on where I'm an old guy and got on Twitter last fall, so I got a different handle on Twitter than I do on Telegram, but they're all variations of Afterwave. So that's me. Radvocate. Bonafied plug. We got Mick here, co-founder of Radish World. He's going to talk about the project he's building on Radix. Of course, Jeremy's going to really carry the heavy weight with respect to introducing Radix. But a couple of quick things I just wanted to say. This was a statement by Pierce Riddy, our CEO, a year or two ago. Radix is a public ledger dedicated to helping DeFi builders get everything they need to obsolete traditional finance and decentralize the 360 trillion US global financial market. Kind of like your Radix in 30 seconds. And I think Jeremy expanded much more appropriately on that. And that is because Radix started from the base of the problem. Like how do you get 400 trillion onto a network? And they work backwards from there. And so after 8 years of testing, initial development, they've solved it. So now the network is valued at over $1 billion and growing. And so that's like the quick version. I found this an interesting perspective of getting the globe of DeFi on, or the globe of finance onto DeFi. And one of the focuses is that DeFi needs to be competitive, convenient, inclusive, cheap, and safe. So if you were to rate from hot to cold, I think we're failing on the safe and the cheap and inclusive. Yeah, okay, but we're competitive and convenient, and to speak on this level here. So there's room to improve the DeFi or the decentral finance or the distributed system space. But an interesting thing on competitive. This is just from last month. This is the IMF report on DeFi, and if you dig into the report in chapter 3. They actually have done some research, and they've shown that DeFi platforms are the most efficient or the least cost as far as the financial system goes, as compared to banking, the digital or what are they called, neobanking or non-bank. So nice for them to give the nod. Of course, their concern is the regulation with respect to the stable coins, but that's something that came from the IMF. So it kind of puts some perspective. Listen, from there, I think that's probably a good start, a good introduction. I don't know, Jeremy, did you want to talk about Radix first, and then perhaps we can go through the Radish World, or how do you want to play that?
At the risk of being totally self-centered, I think that probably does make some sense.
Okay, yeah,
I think the framework, and then
let's stop sharing there. There we go.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, Tony, I think after that intro, I'm going to be a little concerned about my job security, man. You've done a very nice job of teeing it up there. I'm going to just put my Twitter handle in the chat. Feel free to rip me to shreds on Twitter if you're not totally satisfied, because you do get your money back for this presentation. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work. I should give you a note. This is the still in beta very much, so I expect this to generate some conversation, and I look forward to your feedback about the value conveyed in this presentation. I'm working under the assumption that if you're on this call, I don't need to tell you that DeFi is going to eat TradFi full on from the, entirely, just as that quote from the IMF basically admitted as well. So I'm going to jump into the larger question. If DeFi is so awesome, which we all know it is, why is it so damn small? That 200 billion number that we're sitting at, we basically never, even in the bull market, we've never gone above 250 billion of TVL. So what's happening there, right? So the question that most people think is the big barrier for DeFi is scalability, right? You've probably heard that, oh, we don't have the max number of TPS or what have you. The problem is most people are wrong. It's not scalability. Mark, I love your reaction, man. You're making me feel like, hey, he's at least confused. I've got his attention, right? So what are the problems with DeFi? Well, it sucks for everybody is the biggest problem. If you're a developer, it really sucks. If you're an entrepreneur, it mega sucks. And if you're a user, anyone, even if once you set up your MetaMask, if you haven't done it, you'll understand that it sucks for users. And if you have used your MetaMask, it sucks. It's just really, really painful, right? So there are just a slew of problems going on with DeFi. But the question I want to throw at is, what is really the number one problem in DeFi today? So if you want to throw it in the chat, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are right now, but I'm going to give you about 4 seconds to answer it, because I'm going on to what we think is the answer, which is the developer experience. Right now, the developer experience for most of the people in DeFi is horrific. And until you get more developers in the space, you're not going to be able to generate the type of overall experience. The better, you're not going to have millions of developers developing, or hundreds of thousands of developers developing millions of dApps to help billions of people manage trillions of dollars of finance. We've spoken with over 1,000 or nearly 1,000 DeFi developers in the past 3 years. And the problem for them is they spend way too much of their time not developing. They spend their time reviewing, auditing, checking code for errors. I mean, talk to anybody. Don't take it from me. Go talk to anybody who spent their time in Solidity. They will tell you it is an absolute pain in the ass. I don't know how to say that in French, but I'm sure it comes across, right? It is a pain in the ass. Je ne parle un petit peu de français. That's it. That's all I've got. Le toilette. That's une baguette pour 4 francs. That's all I've got. So let's think about it for a second, right? If you think about Uniswap, which I'm sure most of you have used at one point or another, it's like the simplest concept ever. I give you token A, it goes through some sort of calculation, and I get token B back, right? That's like as simple a smart contract as you can get. So this is how you think that a decentralized exchange should work. This is how it actually works on the Ethereum virtual machine model that is now prevalent, right? And this is why we have all kinds of issues that leads to this rec.news, which is like just daily examples of projects being hacked. And it's because of how difficult it is for developers to write convenient, fast, safe, secure code, right? Sorry, I don't mean to yell. I just get super passionate about this topic sometimes, right? It's just a thing, right? I really freaking love crypto and I love DeFi, right? So, sorry, excuse me for being passionate, right? The reason why it makes it so difficult is it's just not intuitive, right? Over the past year, by the way, Houston, that was a phenomenal crypto overview. I'm going to come to the MontrealDAO meetups from now on just to get that, man. That was value. So I was like, man, this guy should just come out and like get him on the Radix report. Like that's good value, man. It was really like solid. I'm gonna steal a lot of your stuff. In fact, I was like checking a lot of it. Anyway,
permissionless, man, permissionless.
Yeah, thanks. Open source. I need your deck then. 220x growth in DeFi capital. So yeah, more and more people are coming in. They're seeing these yields in. I mean, the interest rates, even though Jerome Powell like continues to screw people both from the high end and the low end with rates and then inflation, you know, the rates are still relatively low and people see their money losing value every single day. But developer growth has only gone up 2x in that past year. So what's happening? There are 18,000. There are only 18,000 monthly developers in Web3, right? But really, that's a joke, right? There's 7 million C# developers, right? And you just keep looking up, and at the end of the day, there are 27 million developers in the world. 18,000 in crypto, 27 million who haven't even started playing around yet, right? So when Houston says, you know, we're at the beginning, we are at the beginning. I mean, this is a rounding error on the number of developers, right? So what's happening, our thesis, our point of view is that, great, DeFi is growing, that's nice, but it's nowhere near attaining its true potential in terms of eating, quote unquote, the traditional finance world. So as a result, you have insecure dApps, you have developers who spend way too much time battling their code. It can't scale. There is a scalability issue. I mean, most people sort of point to Solana as like the premier example of a scalable chain. Well, on a good day, when Solana's working, they're at 65,000 TPS. If you take that $400 trillion number and you work it all the way back, you're looking at a transaction per second required of 1 million. So there's no one else on the game right now. I mean, this is like, the way I sort of talk about it is, great, we've cracked the code in terms of like building decentralized finance as a prototype, but it's kind of like the Wright brothers figuring out how to do flight. That's awesome, total respect, but you still have to get 300 people from Montreal to London. You need something different than what the Wright brothers were flying, right? So what's it going to take to really make things go absolutely crazy? Well, we think it's about revolutionizing the developer experience. And how are we going to do that? I was a student of history back in my youth before I turned into an old man. We're going to go do a little history lesson back to the 1990s. So in the early 90s, the video game industry began. And some of you probably remember, on my hunch is some of you guys were playing like Atari and Nintendo and Coleco and Commodore 64. And these were great little first iterations here. And then you had like great games like Doom or Duke Nukem was one of my all-time favorites. I got thrown out of a university computer lab once for playing that on time when I shouldn't have. You know, these are great. The challenge for these video games is that the developers had to code everything from scratch. They had to each time redefine physics and velocity and like hits. Does a bullet actually make contact? So as a result, you end up with games that are super clunky, take a long time, or just extremely simple. While maybe fun because they were innovative, they were simple, difficult to code, and they had this sort of very limited experience capable for them. And building something like a 3D world, like there were no rendering engines and anything like that. So it was just extremely, extremely complicated. But then everything changed. And everything changed in the mid-90s when the guy, Tim Sweeney, who is the CEO of Fortnite the CEO of Epic Games of Fortnite fame, invented the Unreal Engine. And if you ask any coder who was building games before the Unreal Engine and after the Unreal Engine and its predecessor, the Unity Engine, they will tell you it was like liberation, right? It totally, pun intended, changed the game. And now developers could spend 90% of their time building the game because they didn't have to, define the hit detection. They didn't have to define gravity. They didn't have to define velocity. They didn't have to do all of the basic stuff. They could just focus on building the gameplay. And so that changed the experience for gamers and it changed the experience for developers. And it brought more developers into the space. And as a result, we've seen this explosion in the game market. And all you have to do is walk around, look at people on their phones, and you see what they're doing, right? So what's going to radically change the DeFi developer experience? Well, it's the same thing that has accelerated revolutions since, you know, the industrial revolution, even before it, the steam engine, the combustion engine, the game engine, and now there's going to be programmable DeFi engines. In 20 years, the DeFi engine is going to be blatantly obvious in hindsight. There will probably be many of them. The only thing is, we've just built the first one. And that's our philosophy, is that if you combine a programmable DeFi engine, if you build a programmable DeFi engine, you see how it shifts the developer experience. Before game engines, after game engines. Before DeFi engines, after DeFi engines. You're going to hear later from the Radish man himself talking about that. So don't take it from me. You'll take it from developers. But when you combine that with an intuitive, asset-oriented programming language, the EVM has a message-oriented model. Crypto is all about DeFi. NFTs are all about DeFi. The whole thing, it's DeFi all the way down. It's all about assets. You guys know that. So why not have a programming language that's asset-oriented? So when you combine that with a DeFi engine, supported by a layer of a decentralized network that has no limits to its scaling, which I know sounds crazy, but it's linearly scalable. And you can read the white paper and look at all the research if you want to dive into that. You basically then have a full stack for DeFi. And we have built the only smart contract platform specifically designed to make traditional finance obsolete. It's doing what cars did to horse and buggies. This is what happens over time. We all know it's going to happen. And then you throw in all these additional capabilities like compliance as a service, bridging capabilities, all the things that you would expect to bring liquidity and to allow for a safe and regulated environment without giving up too much personal information. You're going to have the ingredients necessary for an explosive capability or explosive ecosystem. And what I love is, you can go in and talk to the developers in our channels yourselves, and they will tell you things like this. That, this is the guy who's the head of the Cambridge University Blockchain Society, and now he's become a serious Radvocate. It's just, we have hundreds of these types of comments. I'm not going to show them all today, so don't sweat it. But it's really rewarding to hear people who are saying, I've been using this, and it's actually, I feel the power of Scripto, which is the programming language, and I understand the power of the Radix engine to prevent me from doing things that I couldn't do. So, since Tony stole my my key line there, I won't read it to you again. I think I've been in crypto for about 6 years, full on. I got my first Bitcoin in 2013, didn't buy enough, sold too many, the whole story there, but full on since 2016. I've had the privilege with working with projects like Yapper Labs, the CryptoKitties guys, Zcash, Open Bazaar, Arweave, just a bunch of top tier projects. And what's blew me away, and the reason why I wanted to join Radix, because once I got my head around the idea that everybody else was failing forward, which was fine, and I'm grateful. We're all focused on this mission of building a radically better financial system. I just think Radix is the only project that I've come across which actually has a real path to making that happen. Will we do it? I don't know, but at least we have a path to making it happen. And I think it's really exciting to understand how people with basically no coding experience can really build something incredible. It's been a really challenging time, like 8 years. We've had a bunch of false starts and what have you, but now we're on the path to really making it easier for people to build those next $10 billion dApp. So we've talked a little bit about how Radix works. What's so powerful is, like, right now in your MetaMask, you talk about having tokens in your account. There are no tokens in your MetaMask. There's a private key in your MetaMask, and it updates a ledger. In Radix, the tokens are actually sitting in your account. And so how you expect it to work, how it works, we've been over this. And I can go through, I have like 15 slides of this, of how it works with the Radix engine, right? And this is how, we can go deep on the technical stuff. So super quick about the team. Like I said, our vision is a radically better financial system. And I've been in this space a long time, and I've heard people talk about, oh, we want to democratize finance, we want to bank the unbanked, the 2 billion people. Yes, I am in favor of all of those things. Like, that is the key to liberation and emancipation and all kinds of great things. I mean, our financial system right now is, I mean, I'm 5 miles from the Federal Reserve. It is rigged, and it's offensive to me. Like, it is downright offensive. But there are plenty of things in the so-called first world that are stupid. like all the forms you have to sign when you buy a car or buy a house or notarize. Like, these are just dumb. Why do we do any of these? I had to move my 401k the other day, and it was just like so stupid how much paperwork was involved. It was just irritating. So yes, those are first world problems, but there's no reasons we can't make that radically better. So what we've said is our mission is to give the builders like Sumik, the builders out there, everything they need. We're not going to do it, but we're going to give them the tools to go out and do what they need to do, because together they will obsolete traditional finance. I'm very proud of the way the team's been executing. And the best part is it's not just me saying, it's other people saying that we've been executing, we've been hitting our lines, we have very aggressive goals, and we've been delivering it. Our beta net for Babylon, which is our big release, is going live in December. Our main net's going live in March. We have a pretty strong leadership team. And for me, it's like, I feel like I'm the dumbest guy in the room, which is great. I'm also the one with the least amount of hair, so that's kind of humbling, but do what I can there. We have people like Willie Wu, one of the co-founders of TransferWise, who have seen the radically different approach, because our base layer is not a blockchain, our execution layer is not the EVM. So it's like requires a slightly different level of understanding about what's required to make it all work. We have a really strong growing community ecosystem, a bunch of projects that are growing now, even though you can't really deploy smart contracts on the platform. I mean, it just tells you how much excitement is growing among developers. Some basics around our token right now. Some of this might be off because I don't update it every day in real time. I just don't have energy to do that, but you get the basics. Our token holder numbers have been growing, and here are some of the basics around the tokenomics. So there's some couple places you can go get it if you want, but I'm not allowed to talk about tokens or speculate on price, so I'm not going to do that because this is being recorded, and the last thing I need is the SEC knocking on my door, so I'm not going to do that. And then my personal favorite is, although we did just announce a hackathon with Red Foo from LMFAO, who's like a coder, and everybody, every day I'm shuffling fame. I was super jazzed when the WBO world champion, who we don't pay for this stuff. Like, I mean, you'll have to take my word for it for what it's worth. This guy discovered Radix, Lawrence Acoli, became a believer in it, and goes to his weigh-in to defend the cruiserweight title. And all he's got on is like a pair of underwear and a chain that says XRD on it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. So that was a big gig. You get to hang out with a guy like that or be associated with him. So with that, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity here. Big thank you to Tony for setting this up. Houston, thank you for giving me this platform. I hope this was valuable. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your questions and your feedback on the presentation. But with that, I will shut this baby down and turn it over to the Radish Man or whatever you guys want to do.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. I started choking just as you were winding up, so it's appropriate that we turn it over to Radish.
Awesome. I hope I'll be able to do justice to that interactivity. That was a really nice slideshow. So this is my first slideshow. Quick note. When I wrote it, I was told like I should probably do like 20-30 minutes. So sometimes we'll see some block of chain, but I kind of edited it last minute, put some bullet points. I was like, okay, whatever, I'll make it happen. So let's do it. Let me figure out how to share this screen right now. Here we go. Let's do it. Entire screen. All right. Chrome wants to share. Yes, let's do it. Now, hopefully you guys can see what's going on. Can you guys see this? Yeah, the Radish, the all-in-one ecosystem. We're good. Okay, cool. So again, this is my first presentation, so let's see how it goes. So Radish, the all-in-one ecosystem. So as Jeremy was explaining, Radix has a very, very great purpose in the DeFi world, and just everything that it stands for, especially the CEO's enthusiasm towards how it wants to globalize DeFi, has brought a lot of attention from developers and creators and builders to want to build on this network that has so much potential. So I'm going to go ahead and present to you guys my project, which is called Radish. It's a all-in-one ecosystem for creators. Whoops. So Radish is the all-in-one platform encompassing some of the features found on OpenSea, Steam, Kickstarter, Fiverr, and it's built on the Radix ledger. It's pretty much a media community, a friendly community for people to alleviate some of the limitations met by the other blockchain and non-blockchain platforms. We've seen the hacks that have been happening on all the other platforms and all of the very, very messy situation going on OpenSea and such. And so this platform is actually backed by Radish, a token created on the Radix network that basically would serve as a basis of transaction within its platform. The team pretty much consists of myself. I'm a co-founder, artist, graphic designer, marketer, and the front-end developer. Currently, I'm basically working on some other stuff in regards to the roadmap, and then which we'll get on later on. And then we've got Han, who is also a co-founder of Radish. He's a project manager, marketer, economist, and graphic designer as well. So all the cool designs you're seeing on Radish right here, that's all us. And then we've got Xavier, the lead developer of Radish for Scripto, and then Alansi, a junior developer for Scripto. We're still exploring more people to have into the team, but for now, we're pretty set and well-equipped to what we want to accomplish. So what are we trying to accomplish? So Radish is actually trying to accomplish a couple stuff. We've got the Radish Square, which is a digital asset marketplace. And then on top of that, we'll also have the DeFi. So we're really big on the Rad stuff. Get used to it. It's so basically Radify is a native decentralized exchange where users can swap the RDS token, which is the Radish token, to other pairings. We'll have RootPad, designed to assist NFT creators and game developers to launch their project, which is not on there. And then we've got Radish World, our native game, tailoring the gaming experience for Radix, the Radix ledger, where NFTs, DeFi, and marketplace will interact with one another. So as Jeremy was talking about the Scripto language, a lot of benefits, very lucid experience when you're utilizing Scripto. And one of the nice things about Scripto is its efficiency to interconnect certain components within the network. And we've also got more features announced. So with the community like Radix that's super fascinated and focused on DeFi technology, it can be very overwhelming for the average Joe to navigate the space. I mean, you'll speak to people in general, and you know, if you're into crypto, they'll usually ask you like, oh, well, what is crypto and what does it do and this and that. So obviously it can be overwhelming, and this is why Radish was built, to create a friendly environment for innovators, consumers, in fact, your grandma, to access the technology of what a radically different DeFi is. And also by benefiting from a tokenomics created for sustainability, which we'll get on later. This is a platform where creators can cultivate their ideas. They can unleash their creativity on a scalable platform thanks to Radix. And our goal really is to streamline decentralization. So while Radix aims to offer scalability, security, and decentralization, Radish aims to offer accessibility. Our movement is basically to assist Radix's technology towards adoption by making all of its benefits usable and reachable. So aspiring visionaries will be able to overcome their limitation in a friendly environment that is pretty much catered for user experience in a world where DeFi thrive. So in addition to that, Radish envisioned to become a hub for newcomers to navigate the space and explore their curiosity. Because again, like we spoke about in the previous chat, in the previous talk with Jeremy, we saw that there are a lot of people that are still not into the space, and the ones that we so direly need are the developers. So how can we make this more comfortable for not just developers, but just anybody, right? Because the goal is the $400 trillion, right? So first, we talk about digital assets. So for consumers to adopt DeFi in their livelihood, Radish believes branding will be the #1 variable bridging this reality. We actually believe a strong brand will compel consumers to gravitate towards the innovations offered by DeFi and doing so more comfortably. So by creating a friendly, professional identity, we're set to become a strong and iconic asset of the Radix network. And with Babylon and Zion right around the corner, as Jeremy mentioned, Radish is simmering the pot, no pun intended, by using this momentum to crowdfund his project to help the brand grow. So how do we do this? So we've created these nice little friendly radishes made by myself. So basically I came up with this design, just really and truly the story behind why I created Radish, or decided to call it Radish. Very funny story. So about a year ago, where I got into Radix, if Radix has the history of the conversation, the very first thing I mentioned, because I'm somebody who works in marketing, in the marketing field and whatnot, and I'm big on like names. I'm big on if a cryptocurrency has a nice logo, a nice name, that is very compelling and gravitates me towards it. So with Radix, one of the very first thing I mentioned was I can't help but feel like this sounds like Radish, and the name just stuck throughout many months, to a point where I wanted to create something. And as Houston mentioned, I wanted to actually play a role in this space and create stuff on it. And so I was like, the name that came up right away was Radish. And now obviously everyone know what radishes are. These are our radishes. They're NFT. And some of the cool stuff that people will be able to earn by owning these NFTs will be Radish token airdrop. So as Jeremy was mentioning previously, the Radix network doesn't currently have a smart contract capability live yet on its network, but we're able to sort of bypass that by creating this token called Seed. And you guys will see the connection very soon. But Seed is basically a token. It's a proof of harvest for people who owned our Radish NFTs to basically have in their wallet. And these proof of harvest will basically be sort of like an emblem for people to receive their Radish airdrops. So very cool stuff here. And if you guys saw, we're planting these seeds and growing these radishes. Yeah, I'm funny like that. So the NFT trend that happened over the course of, the last bull run was pretty much a big factor in what markets experience. I mean, we saw how Ethereum is doing. We saw with the Yuga Lab and everything that's going on. And based on even the Google Trends search chart, the popularity of NFT is very correlated to the price spiking of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and obviously all the other cryptos that tend to follow those price patterns. So it's without a doubt that digital assets have helped give it some sort of tangibility, right? Because before it was a lot of tech stuff behind it, and people were really just investing in almost emblems. And now with NFTs, which aren't exclusive to art, but have predominantly just been into the art industry, people are feeling like they're actually owning something. They actually have some sort of tangibility towards that. And while most do lack any utility, mainly due to Ethereum and Solana's limitation, Radish, in turn, aims to innovate the application of digital asset. And that's obviously thanks to the Radix engine. So thank you, Radix team. With the scalability and the atomic composability that we have available via the Scripto language, which is an asset-oriented programming language, for smart contract, which is awesome. And for those who don't know, I don't know if it was mentioned, Scripto is a language that's essentially based on Rust. It has some capability components on top of Rust that allows for more of a better interaction within the network, but essentially it's what it is. And so us at Radish, we want to create this marketplace and gaming hub, which will be the very first stepping stone towards the exploration of Radix's scalability. So moving forward, thanks to that, right, projects are now equipped with the proper technology to explore the extent of how far digitalized assets can be applied, utilized, and interacted with. So Radish is basically setting this example by leading the way in creating value within the ecosystem of Radix, and that's in regards to branding, technology, and many other aspects. And not to mention, Radish will be the very first project, or one of the very first projects, to add value to the network it is built on via the sales of the NFT within that very same network, which is really interesting. I just want to give a couple shout outs because I don't want to be self-centered. So here are some other cool projects built on the Radix digital ledger technology. So OC Swap, which is very well known. In fact, Jeremy was mentioning Lawrence, which is a boxer who has also shown interest in OC Swap, a pairwise decentralized exchange. And from my knowledge, the very first one, or the very first public one on Radix. I might have received somebody that said something, but I can't see it yet, so we'll go into that later. Radlock, a liquidity locking and team vesting tool, very cool as well. And then Radit, which has earned the recognition of Dan, who is the founder of Radix. It's basically a community-owned investable message board where people can sort of invest in these movement and whatnot, really anything that you can basically express in words. So that's pretty cool. And then there's a lot of NFT collection. The list goes on. There's Abandoned Scorpion, Nerds Republic, Radical Penguins, Raduel. A lot of these are creating games and whatnot. And with the standards that Radix is creating in regards to its technology, I'm very confident that a lot of these NFT collections will be going further than just, presenting art and whatnot. I'm very comfortable that at least some of them will, such as Radish. So now the question is, when Moon? So in the last year, we've seen huge partnerships in crypto, from RippleNet, XRP collaborating with several institutions, crypto having sponsorship deal with UFC, NBA, and also working very closely with Visa. And more recently, I think a couple days ago, we've had Algorand scoring a FIFA deal. So I personally believe, and I think a lot of you will agree, that the adoption of cryptocurrency is imminent and branding is at the forefront of it. The pace at which this will happen likely depends on the recognition of mainstream medias and platforms. So with Radish aiming to popularize DeFi through ease of usage and digital asset application, we're confident to create a brand that will assist Radix reach these heights. And so it's very clear, as you guys can see through what I'm saying and whatnot, and you guys can get into the community, which I'll show a couple stuff later on. It's clear that Radish and its team and everyone else that is in Radish are big believers of the framework that's currently being created by Radix. And so our main goal is to nurture its ecosystem by giving a perfect soil for projects to cultivate their ideas and grow. With our core features set to release in Babylon, our marketplace is actually set to launch this third quarter, somewhere around June, July, in its pre-Babylon phase. So as Jeremy mentioned, there are no smart contract capabilities that are live on the network, but we're still going to do justice to our early investors by creating something that, again, is not utilizing Scripto's magnificent lucidity, but still able to give value to what people are, getting into. And so our team is excited to grow and share the power of the Radix engine. We encourage everyone to find out more at radish.world and read our white paper. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now you guys will probably see my Photoshop because that's where I did the PowerPoint. I'm more efficient at it than the regular, whatever people use nowadays for slides. And so this is our website. Cool backstory. It took me about 3-4 websites before getting this baby live. And the main reason why, I'll tell you guys this: if you ever start a brand, think about the colors you're going to use, because this pink right there, hard to work with because if you know any web designers, the hardest part about making websites are not developing it, but designing it. And so took about 3 tries, 3 full complete websites, but now we've got our website. So I'll just go very quickly through our website. We speak about our features that I've already mentioned: Radish Square, the digital asset marketplace to enable creators to generate and manage creation, our DEX, RootPad, and Radish World. And then we've got 2 other features that we'll talk about later on. And then we've got our cute little radishes just chilling. And where is it headed? So we're talking about unleashing creativity. Like I spoke before, we want to streamline decentralization for innovators. And the reason why it's the perfect soil for people to cultivate their ideas is because they can expand their ideas in a scalable platform, launch into a creator-centered ecosystem, and collaborate with other Radish-based projects. Now we've got some team members here with their NFT. Handsome, which is basically the co-founder. Bonafied Plug, myself, Xavier, the lead developer, Alansi as well, a developer, and Kavikva is a community manager within the Telegram. So that's very cool. If you guys want to, I can show you guys real quickly. We've got this white paper where we talk about a lot of things, the market overview, everything that we're working on. It's a lot of lengthy stuff. Highly recommend you guys to check it out and see what we got going on. We got a really cool tokenomics there for sustainability, which is really awesome. And then here we've got our harvest season. So this is where people can actually reserve their NFT as token. Here we've got our Radish here telling us how to buy. Basically, you reserve your NFT by sending XRD via the Radix wallet, which, by the way, I want to give a shout out to the team. The Radix wallet is super efficient. I'm actually pretty surprised. I was able to do like hundreds of transactions within a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes, and no lag. So shout out the team for that. And so yeah, we've got all this. We've explained the utilities. So I was explaining, we've got these monthly airdrops. So basically, the whole idea incentive in owning the NFTs early on is basically you'll earn more airdrops since we're kind of separating it between holders. We've got marketplace discount, holder only Radish NFT drops, RootPad game access. So basically, anybody who creates a game on RootPad will our NFT and early investors will be able to have access to that. And then obviously our own in-game bonuses. And real quickly, we've got the harvest season. So how are we selling these NFTs? How are we creating this sustainability? So instead of just giving away 10,000 radishes right off the bat, we decided to separate it in quarters just to simmer the pot. Like I said, we've got quarter 2, which is right now. We've got 200 XRD for 3,300 non-GMO radishes. And then on quarter 3, we'll unlock the next 3,300 radishes along with the pre-Babylon marketplace, which is going to be very exciting. And for now, people are not able to actually choose the radishes they're buying. They're able to view them once they buy it. But once the marketplace is live, people will actually be able to see what they're buying and which one they want to buy. And then we're going to announce how we're going to roll out the quarter 4. We've already got 500 sold. It's been 2 weeks, which is amazing. A lot of love from the community. And so this is just great. We talk about how we're going to allocate our NFTs and a lot more details about that on the white paper. As you guys can see, we've been growing the brand very well. All of this is organic. We're just, really just putting this on people's face, like, check us out, whatever the case may be. And we're very aggressive with it, but at the same time, we're very confident with what we're doing. And as far as I know, right now, it's really reflected in our aggressivity. We've got 1,273 followers. The ratio is looking nice, 66 following all of Radix's project, because we do support every single project built on the ecosystem. Radix has given us some credits, which is cool. We're on their ecosystem page right there where you guys can learn more about what's going on in Radix. And we are right here. So cool to have us here. And very recently, in fact, very same day as we were featured on there, we had NFT Mason. We spoke about branding and how important it is to network. So we had NFT Crypto Mason talk about our project and give a little bit of light to Radix, which is awesome. So again, going through with the purpose and doing justice to it. So again, I hope this was fun, interactive, and interesting. Not as fun as Jeremy's slides, but I'll be ready next time. I guarantee that
Awesome.
much.
No, it was great, man. For first presentation, kudos, buddy. That was
Also,
awesome.
I do want to say one last thing. So everybody's from Montreal. If you're not, it's fine. I've got these merch I want to give out. If you don't want to dox yourself, that's fine. But I've got these Radish merch. If the first 3 people that hit me up on Twitter and claim them, I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you. No worries about shipping. I'll handle all of that.
There you go. Awesome job. Awesome job.
That's generous. Thank you, Mick. Very generous.
Appreciate it.
Hit him now, guys. Hit him now. Get that merch.
Thank you, Houston. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Jeremy, for assisting me in this.
Yeah.
Well,
no, that's wonderful. If I can sort of run with it, and you did a great job. And I love the slide that mentioned some of the other projects. That was big of you, because you're one project amongst many. And I do want to sort of, if I can share a little bit about the scope of where Radix is at. Let me see if I can figure out how to get the right screen up here. Well, we'll just go with that. All right. Okay, so we got the website here. So I don't know if you've all been to the website already or not, but there's a lot to take in. There's a lot there. Of course, the papers, but the blog and the other stuff at the hidden in this website. There's a lot to take in. Like the blog, for example, you alluded to this, Jeremy, the Foo Hack. This just dropped today. This is a great event at his facility out in Malibu. So June 14th, 16th, a little hackathon he's hosting there. There's also a website called getradix.com. Now this is the community website. So there's Radix DLT, which is the makers of the Radix layer 1, and then Radix community. So just you can go fish around here. There's quite a list of projects that are developing. OCSwap was mentioned as a DEX. It's amazing how many projects are under development. Various a lot of NFTs, because at the stage that we're at, let me share from some slides. This is where sort of Jeremy's picked up where I left off. Because we're built for builders with a Scripto engine, we're also built for scale with our unique consensus called Cerberus. This is what's going to allow us to scale. You talked about the engine. I wanted to talk just real briefly, and this is some of the older descriptive information. So sorry, Jeremy, if it's not current, but the reason the structure is such that it can scale is that quite a while ago, it was figured that to take on the world of DeFi, we have to look at a different data structure. You know, the blockchain as it is or was would not be able to handle the scale that it needs to. So a deterministic data structure was created where we've got a massive amount of shards. And the nice thing about this is that you can now have addressing, and your ability to search your shard network or search your elements is so much easier and more efficient. So for example, if this happens to be the Houston token, let's say, you know where that resides, you know where that is. Whereas in the blockchain, you have to search through the chain to find the Houston token to create that, to do that transaction. The other aspect about creating this data structure from the get-go is that as if your consensus is designed for it, as your volume of transactions increases, you can now split the shard space up so that elements that aren't involved or combined in a transaction can actually be performed in parallel. So you can have different validator groups taking care of different sections of the shard space. So as you add more nodes, you take away the limitation of your throughput. And the consensus is pretty sharp because it also will it'll braid together any transactions that are related. The neat thing about that is that, let's, for example, say you're giving an airdrop of NFTs. You define that a token, let's say, or an NFT token, and you can send that one address to many. So it's very efficient in that respect. On the other hand, if you've got two separate transactions, that token resides at that particular address. So that builds in some security. It's a state machine. It's not a contract that can be varied. So that's kind of a little bit about the structure, so the scaling part. And so everything they've built in the Scripto is with that structure in mind. Now, this is a little bit of history of where we are and where we're going. So in Q2 2021, this was the Olympia Network, which was basically a network that was launched, a decentralized network, an uncharted Cerberus consensus. So we're using the consensus that we'll be able to shard, but it's on a single shard. And it was a very basic Radix engine version number 1. So we've got the ability to create and move and share tokens. That was.
Sorry, Tony, are you sharing something right now? Because we're seeing the NFT screen right now.
I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Right.
Is that? Can you see that screen now?
No, right now we're seeing just
Oh man, let me escape here.
Well, following along, just didn't have the visuals.
I apologize. Let me try that again. I thought I'd shared a screen, but I think I just shared a share
Yeah,
screen.
the NFT stuff up. Oh, that's fine.
There we go. My apologies. There we go. Share a screen. Okay, so that's going to make a lot more sense now.
Yeah, now I see a deck.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about, the deterministic data structure. So unlike a conventional blockchain, we have this massive shard space. And so now we're able to address, and we know how the shard space is set up. And when you, as I was saying, if you're looking for the Houston token, you know it lives in this particular address, and it's a deterministic model to get there. This is the kind of data structure you need to take on the entire globe of finance, as opposed to a blockchain, because the blockchain just runs into this capacity because you're expanding on a sequential nature. And if you're searching for the Houston token, you've got to search the entire chain, right? Now, certain platforms are trying to add shards to double up the capacity, if you will. But if you haven't figured out your consensus to deal with this massive shard space, doing it after the fact is almost impossible. Very challenging, and you lose what's called composability. So if you have multiple transactions working together, the Cerberus consensus braids those together so we can actually perform that. But if you have independent transactions, then they can be grouped. Let's say you've got a group of shards over here. This could be a validator group here, and then have other validator groups here working independently of that. So you're able to add more nodes to increase the volume of transactions that the system can handle. So you're not going to run into that limitation that most blockchains are running into. That's a little bit about the structure. So where we are now, and this is, apologies for not having the screen. So this is where we are now. This is the Olympia network that launched last year, which is a centralized network on a single shard using that Cerberus consensus and the Radix engine version number 1. It's very simple. We're able to create and share tokens, but very efficiently. Actually, more efficiently than many blockchains will do. Airdrops, BioBSwap, and others, they love the idea, the ability to send out to a whole whack of addresses in one transaction, and it's so quick because of the efficiency of that underlying data structure. Alexandria launched at the end of last year, and this is where we brought Scripto, this new language, asset-based language, available to developers to start working with. Radix engine version number 2 gives the ability to play with Scripto. We've got some simulation tools with that, and we're looking at getting some test networks up and running in the second half this year. So you can start building with Scripto now, but not on a live mainnet. This is the way Radix has approached things all along. Rather than launch it and find out where the holes are after we get hacked, it's take the serious work and build it right. The end of this year, it's been alluded to, this is the Babylon launch. So this is where, once we've gone through almost a year of pretty much a year of Radix engine and Scripto development, refining Scripto, working with the developers that are already jumping in. We're launching live. So those dApps will go live still on an uncharted network, right? But everything that has been designed here is with that data structure in mind. It's very easy to have the data structure that's hugely scalable and launch it on one shard, but your structure's there, so you can go the other way. You can scale it. It's very difficult to build and design something on a single shard or blockchain, and then try and figure out how do I scale it afterwards. That's the dilemma that a good deal of the crypto world is stuck in, and this is what Radix has solved. So in 2024, that's when we're going to go to the full sharded network and move that over. So that's kind of it. It maybe gives you some insight as to the scalable and the scripto part. As I said, go to the getradix.com is another great resource. And I couldn't not mention this again because it's pretty cool that this just dropped today. So I don't know if there's any other questions that you guys would have. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Jeremy?
No, I'm really grateful. Like I said in the note, thank you guys. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them, but I do need to jump off in a few minutes.
I think there's some questions. So, does anyone want to open the? Yeah, grab the mic, guys. If you want to unmute yourself and jump in one at a time. We got Jeremy probably for a couple more minutes, and then he's got to run. But yeah, if you have any questions,
got to keep customer number one happy, and that's really tough for me.
Jeremy,
happy life strategy, the execution difficult.
Very much appreciate 100%. That you can make it here, man. That was awesome.
Sebastian, what have you got, man?
Well, thank you. Well, one of the things that the EVM does great, or at least does well, is that it orders the transactions for you as a developer, right? So it brute forces them in a single line. So as a developer, you don't have to worry about that. Now, Radix is using the UTXO model, pioneered by Bitcoin, more or less. And in that moment, when you're developing a dApp on Radix, presumably, you need to take charge of the transaction flow, much like it happens on Cardano, for example. So how are you planning to do that simple or easy to do? When on Cardano, as a person that's involved in the Cardano ecosystem, that's the most nightmarish part when you're developing a dApp is trying to order the transaction flow or make sure that it's gonna.
I hate to sound cliche. Can I run with this one, Jeremy?
Sure.
Okay. Hate to sound cliche. Great question. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say, right? No, seriously, that is a good question. And there was a video. Pierce was with one of our old guy developers, a guy named Josh, really cool guy, at South by Southwest, and we'll find that link for you, Sebastian, because he does address that very specific question, and that's part of the many layers of abstraction of Radix, going from the shard space and up through the Radix engine to Scripto to the user. So there's many layers of abstraction in the conception of it, and the Radix engine does do that. So they do manage the grouping. So if I understand your question, you're saying you've got to manage, let's say, in a swapping pool, if you have two contenders for the same UTXO, even though there may be a whole balance of that pool available, if these two are conflicting, that's not being managed very well, and the Radix engine has figured that out. So they're grouping unspent transactions in terms of a loss of words here, but yeah, I'll share the video. They basically do take that into account. So they do the ordering as part of the Radix engine, does the ordering. So if there's a first come first serve, and then they'll remove from the pool and have that UTXO remaining pool. It doesn't matter which specific UTXO it is, as long as it's within the pool. The other thing that makes it so easy in Radix is this native asset aspect to it. We're not updating contracts like in an EVM environment. So there's so much more security in a passing of a token. If it can't pass for whatever reason, that the transaction is going to fail, or if you try and pass a token that's a fake or whatever and try and fool it into a double spend, without going into a full Scripto course, you create a token and it gets put into buckets and vaults, and that token can only go into that vault, and so you can't mess around with the assets. They're first-class citizens in the Radix Scripto world. I'll share that link. That's a good question, though, Sebastian, and we do address that very much. So you don't have to deal with the ordering or the UTXO management and contentions like that.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a question, Jeremy, or are you just throwing some?
No, I put the link in for the video there, but I see Mark and Classicus.
Yeah, go ahead,
Is
Mark.
that like Spartacus?
Sort of. Yeah, the same pronunciation exactly.
Okay, nice. Mark, you were first, so go for it.
Sure. I was wondering who can run validator nodes? Can anyone run validator nodes?
Do you want to run a node?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's limited to 100 in this current phase. Eventually, though, anyone will be able to do it. But yeah, anyone can do it. You just sort of market yourself. That's my so yeah, get on in there, man.
Okay. And so Scripto is a low-code, no-code language, so that's why you want to make it easier for developers, or?
Well, it's an extension to Rust. I mean, I think Nick can probably talk more about this than I can. It's Scripto is designed to take advantage of the Radix engine, where a lot of the concepts of DeFi are embedded. So like the idea, there was a great tweet today about the difference of creating a token in Rust on Near, for example, which takes about 100 lines. And then on Radix, it can take about 1 line. So I will find that, and there's an example. I'll go find that tweet for you right now.
I'll give you an analogy, right? You guys are all from Montreal. I speak French and English, by the way. So I'll give you an analogy of how Solidity is based on compared to Scripto. So I always say this to all my French folks. So shout out all the French people out there. Why do I find that English is better than French? We all hear this in Montreal. French or English, French or English. And I always say English, in my own opinion, is better. Why? Because if you hear people that speak French, a lot of time it's very easy for them to migrate into speaking English. The opposite is not true. Why is that? Because English is very simple, and for us to talk and what is the purpose of languages is to communicate. So the easier it is to communicate, the better the language is. And Scripto is exactly that, in my opinion. It's a nice analogy, I think. It's very fluid, very transparent. The lucidity you have in developing it is incredible. As Jeremy was talking about, I believe Omar, one of the people who work with Radix, was showing the difference in between creating a token on the Radix engine and then the Near protocol, and you just see the difference. The thing is, I think what's nice with Radix's engine is they're actually trying to make it more easy and efficient for even regular people to learn how to create stuff on there via their language. It's super interactive, and obviously there's so much that can be said. It's still at its infant stage. But I highly recommend you look into some of the documentation. I'll send you some of the stuff I've got here. And you don't even need to know how to develop on Rust, really. You can, but Scripto itself is, like I was saying, very translucent. It's very easy to work with, even if you have no prior experience. So I'll go ahead and send the link.
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate
All right,
that.
I saved you the hassle. I put the Twitter link in
oh, there you
chat
go.
for you.
There you go.
So.
Classicus, you had a question too. I wanted to get everyone a chance.
So I'm that guy. I don't have a question. I have 6. I've been kind of writing stuff down as we've been going. So I'm going to quickly fire through a few, and then I'll let other people talk, and maybe I'll do a second round later.
We can do offline if you've got another dozen that come up, Classic. I'm all good for that.
Yeah. Cool. So the first thing I want to ask is, so you guys haven't released your main net yet, right? Yet you guys have a tradable token on all the EVM chains. I'm just curious as to why you guys release a token on EVM chains if there's no utility for it yet.
Well, there's an EXRD token on the EVM chains, and so that gives people exposure who, because right now you can, so XRD is the native token of the network. If you want to have XRD, its basic utility is you can stake it, you can send it around. I mean, you can buy NFTs and things like that. And some people may want that, some people may not want that. That's fine. The current challenge, though, is the bridge that we have is a one-way bridge. So if you bring your EXRD into Radix, for now, like, you're not getting it out. So a lot of people might say,
Jeremy, to be fair, that's a challenge for you in the US. We have access to Bitfinex up here. So we can buy,
if you migrate, I'm saying if you have EXRD and you bring it onto the network, you can't bring.
Yeah, we can go to Bitfinex and buy and trade it back to EXRD.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
it's an American issue until we get another tier.
But like
tier one up there.
You'd have to go through like a.
But they're back. The point is they're backed 1-to-1. So when you bring it over, I mean, it gets, the XRD gets burned and the XRD gets released, and the XRD, so it's basically, there's no expansion of the 24 billion that are available. It's just that some of them have been locked up essentially and represented on EVM or Ethereum. So essentially people can purchase it, do whatever they want there.
Cool.
Yeah. And if you really like to pay gas fees, you can use EXRD. Yeah.
You said max price is 24 billion. Is there 24 billion minted already, or just a subset?
They're all out, but some of them are locked up for specific activities. But yeah, fully diluted.
Yeah.
In the ecosystem or in EVM worlds?
Total.
Okay. Okay. So I can talk about tokenomics all day, but I don't want to do that. The next question I have is around contract. I don't know. Do I call it contracts? What do I call the things I deploy? It's on a contract.
You can call them. We understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it was.
We call them components, but yes.
Okay, I'll try to use the right lingo. Are components immutable once you deploy them? So
they're standard smart contracts.
True. Do you guys have the in EVM world we have something called the proxy pattern? I don't know if you guys.
This is already above my pay grade.
Okay.
What's the no? Maybe I'm just not understanding the utility. What's the proxy pattern for?
So a proxy pattern is a type of contract or component in your world where it has it's kind of like a blueprint, right? And you publish that, and then you can change the underlying. As long as you follow the blueprint, you can keep redeploying. Yeah, they're updatable smart contracts, exactly. As long as you keep the same pattern, or you only extend it, you can't change like the memory slots and other things like that. But I was just curious if you guys had that. That's pretty technical.
For the developer world, we have a concept of blueprints. Okay, so if you create a smart contract in Scripto, and you create a really great AMM and it's proven out, it's been audited, whatever, what have you, and it's a really good AMM, and you've got a blueprint, you can actually determine the royalty you'd like to collect for the use of that. And other developers who say, hey, that's a great AMM, I can either develop myself, or, oh, this one's inexpensive royalty, I can just use it, I can just call that. Yeah. So if you price your royalty too high, it won't get called. If you price it, market forces will dictate what's reasonable. But there's an opportunity to.
I would say that on GitHub, they have a lot of repositories where you can find a lot of the Scripto codes.
Yeah.
And basically, a lot of people right now are. Well, for our part in Radish, we're actually privately developing, because eventually all of this is going to have to be public, and that's one of the nice things, is kind of like Scripto will be able to be utilized as especially from other developers as building blocks, so people will actually be able to utilize stuff that other people have created. And so I think that's what's one of the cool things about Radix, is that the imminence of it becoming better, greater, and more efficient through developing.
I mean, my general approach on this is like at a certain point, like you have to, like, it's a DYOR thing. Like, we're obviously going to do what we think is, so go to the developers page, go to the Telegram, spend half an hour. Either we're full of shit and this was a total waste of your time, or there's something there and you like take it. And and honestly, I would love to hear your feedback either way. because like I know if you're obviously if you're deep in the EVM world, like there's a whole bunch of questions and a paradigm, and that's awesome. And I would encourage you to go in there and like try to punch holes in it. I mean, I'm sure they're holes.
Absolutely.
There's a whole bunch of things that piss us off in the EVM world, and we really want those problems to go away. So we're really hoping that like they do.
I'm not a developer.
Come and talk to us. Come and talk to us. Yeah.
I'm not a developer. I know enough to be dangerous, but that's pretty much it. But basically, what I say to people is, look, if you're genuinely like dealing with these solidity problems that we've heard from like those 1,000 developers, spend half an hour on the developer page, go read the docs, go bang around in crypto, and after 30 minutes, like you'll have a sense of whether there's like meat on that bone or not, and then you can go from there.
Jump into the Telegram and ask for the developers channel.
They're very
Radix
helpful.
is by far
They're
one
going to
of the
help
most
you. There's folks that have gone through everything you've gone through in there.
Radix is by far the most.
It doesn't have to come from us. Yeah. Mark, you had a question, but before you go with your question, I'm going to actually answer or show.
Well, let me just take Mark's question because I got to go. My wife's going to yell.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead. I'm going to put up on the screen just while you're taking the question. This is the network. These are the validators. So right now the network is supported by the top 100, but there are more than 100. And this is the owner stake and the total stake on each of these validators.
You mentioned that there's not no smart contract yet, but you can deploy tokens and you can still build platforms. So, I mean, in the EVM world, a token is a smart contract.
Yes and no, because smart contracts, if you're into developing, right, you realize smart contracts are like functions on them in their own. And while we can't actually make our tokens do a certain set of things, we can create a token, but we can't do these set of things. And the smart contract are that bridging between the token interacting with other components and whatnot. So
I think the short answer is that we don't have a contract. The Radix engine takes care of the contract that otherwise you need to do in EVM to create a token. Creating a token in Scripto it's like a single line. You can define some attributes to it. Is it something that I can burn, or is it something? You also have this concept of badges, which gives different authorities. So if you show a badge and the badge itself is the token, but once the token's created, it goes into buckets and vaults. I mean, thank you, Jeremy.
It's like a low-code system where you're
Thanks, Jeremy.
Function.
Sorry, Mark. You'll have to repeat.
Sorry, so it's like a low-code engine where you stick to a few functions predefined by the Scripto platforms, basically.
Yeah, the Scripto platform defines the asset as a first-class citizen in the language, and it becomes so much easier to manipulate or to create. You spend your time on the creation of the great dApp as opposed to trying to troubleshoot, is my token, because in the contract world in the EVM, your token has so many different potential states, and you have to anticipate, because it's a variable, right? Like it's a contract that has a lot of variables. Whereas if you define the token in the Radix engine with Scripto, it is a token. It has, it's no longer, it's an asset that's created that has certain attributes that can't be broken, which makes it so much more secure. There's a whole series of retweets called direct retweets, and you'll see in a bunch of those how we lay it out. This is how the Radix engine takes care of tokens and why this particular hack couldn't happen with Radix.
But that also make that contract, that token, non-upgradable, I will imagine. You cannot delegate the call of the contract to different contract as you upgrade your contract to add new function, I will imagine.
That might be a function of how the contract's written, but then that's where the badges come in. So all the potential mixes and variances of your smart contract, they pretty much figured out how to do everything that's potentially DeFi out there. So if you have different badges that give you different authorizations to upgrade to a certain level, or to, it can only be burned. You could even make a token that the owner could burn. You can do that. Not that you'd want, oh shoot, I just burned my tokens, but that is possible. I'm not saying that we prevent stupidity, but
Yeah, I mean, I work for a company where we use token as like proof of debt, for example. So we burn the token when the client pay back his debt, for example, right? So
Sure.
it's the owner of the contract that burned the token, right?
Yeah, as long as the debt repayment can't be fooled into burning the token by some fake contract, and that's where all these hacks are coming out. See, with Radix, that particular token has attributes, and either it's accepted because it fits into that vault that you've written in your contract, or it's rejected. You know, it's very cut and dry in the state of the tokens. It's what makes it very secure. Now, it's built around Rust, so it's Turing complete. You've got all the ability to program like you want, but you've got the security built into the nature of that scripto. Yeah, it's like I said, I had no knowledge of crypto at all 6 months ago, and I'm not a developer, but I fell in, and that's I attribute this to the ecosystem of Radix. Some of the smartest. My career in power stuff, I do power harmonic filtering for power systems, and I'm not a smart guy. I just hung around really good engineers for a lot of years and learned stuff from them, and I've learned so much from the Radix community. So the Telegrams, Discord. You know, the developer communities that are built up. There's so much out there. There's a 7-hour scripto workshop video if you want to watch it. You can watch it at 1.25 or 1.5 speed and skip the lunch break. But if you want to see scripto, they did that in Lisbon recently. I think I put on the site. They had a sort of a quick feature of the fun party part of the. But there's a whole 7-hour video if you want to go check that out. See script.
Yeah, thank you. Super. I'm gonna look for it.
All right, Houston had a question also.
Yeah, I got my hand raised in the queue, so I'm gonna ask a question.
Sorry, man.
No worries. I know it's hard to see them when you're
yeah, I gotta get used
talking.
to the.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask a question for folks who are non-devs, but you know the Radix is actually, you know, folks who are not aware, but it's not a new project. It's been out for many years now. So I think the general criticism is, you know, if you dig, like, so why isn't it mainnet yet? It's been out for, you know, I think it's a pretty easy, you know, it's 8 a pretty, years. Yeah, I think it's a question that I think, you know, teams are probably willing to answer. So why is it taking so long to hit mainnet?
That's a great question too. So Dan Hughes, who's the founder of Radix, he saw Bitcoin and thought, wow, this is amazing. Dan's experience, he was played a big figure in getting T-Mobile's first network up to support apps. So he comes from a networking background, and so he helped implement that. So he looked at Bitcoin when it first came out, and he said, wow, this is really cool. I'll say, okay, so how do we scale to the world of finance? He said, because it's not going to work. So he figured out early on that data structure wouldn't work, and he set out trying to figure out how to do that. Along the way, the first research network that he built up was called Tempo. Tempo got to 1 million transactions per second, but the consensus didn't have the composability, and so he started over. So it's been a long, hard haul. Now, the Cerberus consensus was proven out, University of California, Davis. There's a white paper on the website. You can go there. They went and validated the Cerberus consensus. So that was the aha moment, which was 2020. So from there, they've been starting to build up the Radix engine and all those other layers of abstraction from the shard space upwards. And it's hard work. You want to do it right, rather than, you know, a new blockchain comes out. And maybe I'm simplifying this a little bit, but you're going to fork an existing chain. You're going to copy paste what's already there. You're going to make some adjustments, and new chains are born on a quite regular basis that way. Now, certainly there's some innovations coming out, you know, zero knowledge rollups and things like that, optimistic rollups, but they're not the scalability of the shard space that Radix is based on. So it's taken a long time to figure that out, and we've gotten there. One of the things that helps my confidence in terms of where Radix is going and where they are and where they will be is Dan plays around online with his research network. in the Telegram, this Telegram channel, where he will put the call out to the community, say, okay, we're going to fire up Cassie. That's his pet name for his research network, which is fully sharded. We're going to fire up Cassie, going to do some tests this weekend. And so he gets community nodes involved. They play around over Christmas. It was hilarious. SBF, I think, said, well, there's no way in a video somewhere on YouTube that, you can't put video on Ledger. You can't literally put the video content on Ledger. So Dan fired up an extension on Cassie and was streaming 4K video on Ledger. So we know the capacity is there with the sharded network to handle massive amounts of data. But to do it right, that takes time. So, and I think Jeremy alluded, for developing Scripto, which is the developer problem as well, the quandaries. A lot of folks have come into as developers to DeFi and looked at Solidity and said, "Well, you want me to put millions of dollars on with this tool?" I think one of the best analogies is a video that Pierce, the CEO, was involved in. He talks about the story of the guy with his hair on fire. And your buddy's got his hair on fire, and he's not thinking about what he wants for dinner. He wants to put his hair out. And you give him a brick, and he starts bashing his head with a brick because he just needs to get his hair out. Of course, if you give him water, he'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll take that." And that's kind of the frustration with the EVM and Solidity and the tools in crypto up until now. It's a very difficult process to build quickly and build reliably. So they've taken the time. They've talked 1,000 or more developers in developing Scripto as a language and a tool and an asset-based language to make that process. Again, I'm going down a developer path. I know you asked the question in terms of perhaps the non-developers, but that's the kind of effort to do it right that Radix has been doing. That's why it's taken so long. Rather than launching it and finding the hacks and finding the holes, it's like, let's build something that's intrinsically safer from the structure, from the language, and go from there. So that's and it's not easy.
It's not. They're
doing something different than what everyone else has done, right?
Mm-hmm. I think also, if I want to add in, I think there's a level of philosophy to take into account when it comes to the economy, right? We see that right now with all the innovations that's happening in regards to the economies, because we're not happy with where we're at. And it's not going to be an easy path, like Tony said, to get to somewhere where things kind of make sense. But just the fact that, Radix has been adamant about trying to do something of that sort and at that degree, and actually taking the time to do it properly is something big, right? For the non-developers, I think that in itself is what you can understand. If you don't have to understand the blockchain and all of these things to understand what Radix is doing, because at the end of the day, what comes down to Radix trying to actually help the whole world, not just developers and whatnot. And we see the problems are very, very easy to understand, like scalability, decentralization, and scalability. Just starting from there, you don't need to have those backgrounds as a developer to even understand that. And once you understand the issue there, I'd say if you're not a developer, look into the trilemma, which is the term that was coined by Vitalik, the creator of Ethereum, ironically, and how that has clearly stopped people from adopting crypto. Why is crypto not adopted yet? Especially now that we know that we're turning into a world, a digital world, right? Well, one of the main thing is, Bitcoin. We've got all the power issues and energy resource issues, and then what about Ethereum? Then Ethereum is using Ethereum is doing a lot of great things, but why is that? Why is there an issue? Well, in regards to scalability, we can already talk about the fees. We're not looking, when you're thinking about DeFi in the future where it's implemented by the whole world, you're not thinking you're going to be sending $700, just send $20 to your friend from wherever or whatnot, right? So think about those issues, right? The issues that are easily able to be seen. And I think Radix is the only project that's, brave enough to talk about these things and actually try to do something about these issues that are in the
And
block.
there is a different mindset to it in the community, and which is really reassuring. There's not, there's a traders channel, Wen Moon, you know, Wen marketing, you know, the Radix marketing engine is just turning on right now.
Yeah,
they've been building for quite a long time, but we haven't been going out and getting community meetups and advertising. But you're going to see it. You know, I think it's 10th of May. If any of you are on Brave, we're taking over Brave.
And like I mentioned, right, earlier in my presentation, I had said one of the very first thing I said about Radix when I got into the Telegram was, man, this sounds like Radish. And you don't know how quickly that conversation reverted back into tech. And that's one of the great things is like I knew I had my hands in developing and whatnot, developing games and all that type of stuff. And then getting into blockchain was very hard for me because it was very hard I wasn't finding that place where I could ask questions and whatnot. And on the Telegram, you just got a very fascinating community where people will literally talk about other cryptos and be open enough to you know, argue about what is the pros and cons with this one and how it works in contrast to Radix, which is something you don't find in any other community. Straight up, you don't go in other Telegrams talking about other crypto. It's taboo. In Radix, people welcome it because they're so confident and very, very intelligent people there. You'll find, and they're very helpful as well. Tony,
before we tell you yours is bad and ours is good and ban you from the Telegram channel, we'll ask, you know, well, what about it is good, or what about it? Oh, did you realize that? You know, it's very educating. You know, maybe you didn't realize that this is done this way or done that way. And there's another aspect too to the community, and sure, the tech side is super strong. On the financial side as well, there's a component that Radix has thought about called Instapass, and now Instapass it's somewhat it's centralized at this time, and I don't know how you get around that, but it's a component that you can use. You don't have to use. So their objective is to build the most secure structure for money globally. Now, on top of that, you're going to have applications. You're going to have needs for regulation. You know, that's a big discussion right now. So if you're building something and you need to pull in some KYC, Instapass is already there. That's an element you can add to your contract or what you're developing. So there's an ability to have a KYC component tied into that if you so choose to do so. So they're certainly thinking. Are you leaving? You coming back? What?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go right now.
Okay.
I'll let you. I'll let
Likewise,
you run the show. Take care, guys. Thank you for having me. And
any other questions, guys?
No, I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mick.
Appreciate it, Mick.
We'll catch up with you offline. Take care. So, you know, this is the open Q&A portion. So let's just keep going. If you have any questions,
I'm good for a while. You know, at some point, my better half will want me coming home, but.
Otherwise, if there are any questions, we'll get to the OAT drop. But
I
think Adina raised her hand. I think I saw a hand raised there.
I read the paper.
Uh-oh. Someone did her homework. Yeah.
On page 24.
Yeah, I know it well. I'm completely.
Okay. Two simple definitions. On page 24, it talks about individual Oracle components. Are you talking about the software Oracle?
No. And who wants to pick up what an Oracle is something that allows you to bring in real world data, for example. Is that a fair description for the developers? I mean, it's a communication to bring in data that might be useful to use in your contract. So, you know, if you build a smart contract that's going to tell you the temperature, an Oracle would be built to go get the temperature of the day. Okay. Is that a good general description of what an Oracle is? I'm not a developer, so I'm just trying to piece think. Yeah, thank you, Klaskus. Appreciate it. I did take, you know, computer science in 1985, and they had punch card machines in the corner of the room in the basement. So I'm a little dated, you know, Fortran.
On page 30, this is an acronym BFT. BFT.
Byzantine fault tolerant.
That's
So-
what it is. Okay. Okay. Good.
It's another TLA. Do you know that one?
No.
It's a 3-letter acronym. A TLA,
Okay.
3-letter acronym. In French, it's an ATL, an acronym à toilette. I use it all the time.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. No, my other questions, they have already been asked and answered. I want to ask about the Scripto University. I see there's an 8-hour YouTube on it, so I'll go and do that. And
Yeah, no, it's like I say, you can fast forward some of it, but Matt is one of the chief developers. He does a great presentation actually from the plane because his flights were messed up. Very sharp guy. And then Clément comes in, a French gentleman, and runs the show. There's one other thing. People say, well, how come I don't see Radix in the top whatever coins? And part of that, if you go to CoinMarketCap, it's your go-to to see listing of coins. I think XRD is like 3,400 in that list, and that's because CoinMarketCap has some rules with respect to tier 1 exchange listings. So Radix has they're at a point where they're now ready to launch, and they're pursuing larger exchange listings, but we're actually a top 100 coin. So if you go to Gecko, they have the correct market cap there. So we're over $1 billion in market cap. We are somewhere, I think, the 85th coin or whatever. Just so you have an understanding. So it's kind of like this hidden gem, because most people who use CMC to rank coins don't even realize Radix is a contender.
So when mainnet?
Yeah, top
live?
1 minimum. That's our.
So yeah, based on the chat, I think mainnet is already out with tokens and staking.
Okay, but the rest of functionality.
Yeah, I'm assuming
but
this is Cardano, right? Like when Cardano was released, like their token was released, but their smart contracts weren't out. It takes a while to get like that platform out.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a similar state where it's like you can stake, there's a one-way bridge, there's a token, but you can't really build the intelligence,
you can, but not on Ledger now. Yeah, we've released the script, so you can start building, and that will go live end of this year, beta Q1 next year.
What's the name? Just
called Babylon. That's the
Q1 2023 mainnet release.
That's
right?
correct, and then you will have smart contract operation on net.
Well, what's the name of the testnet? Just to save me a Google search. The
one that the founder works with. Cassandra. It's
Cassandra.
I'll if you go on Telegram, reach out to me, find me afterwave, whatever. Ask about Dan's toy. It's really cool. Elon Musk is talking about decentralized Twitter. Dan ran Twitter clone on his network already. Like he integrated Twitter clone with he called it Radflix, so you could upload. We were uploading videos to it, and it was all arranged with a fake token that he created for that. So we'd say, send me some token. Here's my wallet, so we could pay to upload videos onto Radflix, and we were just helping him try and break it. It's so cool because if you want to build something that's going to handle the world of DeFi, well, what's better than putting a whole bunch of the Matrix in 4K streaming live? That's just pushing the limits of those networks. So
this is next level peer-to-peer until there's more people. Technically, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's wind down the questions here as we're getting close to the hour. So why don't we do the oat drop now, so that everyone who's been hanging around, who's been very, very patient, we still have some folks on the line because they're hanging out for the oat drop. I know you are. I know you're waiting for that oat. So let's Classicus, you want to drop the link in Discord now? So if you're still in Discord, if you can hear my voice, we just dropped the form. This form is completely anonymous, so we're not collecting any email addresses. If you don't want to dox yourself, we're not collecting any kind of stuff other than your wallet address. So we cannot connect your address to you.
We only collect the string you put in there. You can
exactly. We only
collect world, and we still won't know who sent it.
Yes, you can put that in there. You just won't, get whitelisted if you put that in.
Yeah, that'll probably give us an error on the blockchain.
Yeah, exactly.
To Hello World.
Yeah. So yeah, drop it in now. Click on that. And tomorrow I will send out. Let me share out my screen here. I'm gonna share out. Tab here. So tomorrow I will send out a link to this page. No, if you want to, you can grab the link now. Can you guys see my screen? Galaxy.eco.
It's coming. There it is. Yeah.
All right. So this is the project.
Did the link work for anyone? Because I'm not seeing any entries.
Yeah, you're talking about the forums link. Yeah, double check, folks, and you let us know if the.
No, it works. Never mind.
Okay, awesome. Excellent. So Project Galaxy is the protocol, the project that is well, they're actually they're trying to be a protocol. So they're trying to be competitor to POAP. So they're the ones who's helped us set up these oats. And so if tomorrow I'll send you a link. But if you go here right now, if you go to Spaces, you click on that, you'll see all the different projects and protocols that are currently using Project Galaxy to drop oats. So if you go in here and you type in MontrealDAO, you don't have to. I'll send you a link tomorrow directly. But you go to MontrealDAO, and it's right there. And tomorrow, we'll get your wallet addresses, and you'll be whitelisted. So all you got to do tomorrow is click on Connect Wallet. You'll be whitelisted, so you can claim this oat, no gas fees, right? So it'll be on Polygon. That means you're going to be able to open up your Polygon wallet on MetaMask or wherever you keep. You've set up your wallet, and you're going to be able to see that token in there. That's the cool part, is that ultimately these oats, they're different than just POAPs, because here they're actually on the Polygon chain, and that means they reflect in your wallet. Okay, so one small piece of alpha before we begin to wrap things up is Project Galaxy is actually here you go, you can see right there. Their GAL token just went live. So if you punch in GAL into, I should have dropped it earlier, but yeah, these went live. Their tokens went live earlier today. So they had a nice little pop today. I think they were up a good 400%. So that was actually not a bad alpha drop. Classic, we probably should have bought some like a few days ago. We heard about it. So we missed that one. But they're listed now on Binance. That's the big thing. The GAL token is now listed on Binance. So you can trade it there freely. They're now going to be on their launch pad. So yeah, Project Galaxy, interesting project there. And claim your oat so that we can confer some of these benefits to you for being an OG to our events. And we'll be giving out more oats both in real life and these events going forward.